Hello and welcome to Gardening Mindfully. I'm Zenith and I hope you're having a truly amazing day. Today is the 2nd of August 2025 and I'm here in my watermelon patch. Now last year in 2024 I grew watermelon in a raised garden bed, which is my galvanized garden bed that you can see way back there. You're probably not able to see it. But this year I decided to move it out into a wider space so they can ramble and roam just like watermelons like to do. I started 3 different varieties from seeds. So I have a yellow, a red, and also an orange. So we started off the year in the spring being really wet. We got rain for maybe 6 to 8 weeks straight. And then we started the summer also with a lot of rain. And then the heat came. Between the periods of rain and heat and rain and heat, our watermelons have been suffering. You will notice in a few minutes that this watermelon here has a huge sunspot. And I've already discarded quite a few watermelons that burst open. So when we get periods of a lot of rain all at one time, our watermelons will tend to take in too much water and they will burst. Watermelons also love sun, but if they're exposed to too much sun or the temperature is too hot, then they get sun scald or sunburned. Are your watermelons getting sun scorched? If so, what have you done about it? In 2024, I did a video where I talked about the sunspot on a watermelon and also the ground spot. So the sunspot is the top of the watermelon where it gets scorched by the sun. So when the temperature is too hot for a long period of time, the rind on the top will get sunburned or sun scorched. Now, if you flip the watermelon over, you will see the ground spot. Now, the ground spot is the part of the watermelon that does not get any sun. So we have the sun spot, flip it over, and you get the ground spot. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you around my watermelon patch. And basically what you're going to see are 2 things. One, the watermelons have been getting sun scorched because as you can see there is no shade, they're out in the open. And secondly, you'll see watermelons that have burst open again because we have been receiving a lot of rain. So when watermelon gets too much water all at once and then a period of no water, that's what happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at a watermelon patch. After seeing the watermelons getting sun scorched, I decided to use shade cloth to provide some protection from the sun. So the black material that you're seeing here, this is the shade cloth that I simply placed directly on top of the watermelons and also on top of the vines. This was my crude attempt at protecting the watermelons from even more sun damage. Taking a closer look at the weave of the shade cloth, and you'll notice that it's not very small, so it does allow for plenty of sunlight to filter in. However, by me simply placing the shade cloth almost directly on top of the watermelons and the vines, you'll notice in some areas that it's elevated, but it's not elevated completely. The issue that I found using this method are twofold. One, you'll notice that the vines started growing up through the shade cloth. And the second issue is that a lot of the vines started to dry up, which I know has nothing to do with the plants not getting enough water. It would have been best if I had taken the time to use maybe 3 feet or 3.5 foot T-posts to hang the shade cloth, thereby elevating it above the watermelon patch. instead of laying it directly on top of the watermelons and the vines. There are two main reasons why watermelon will split on the vine. One is inconsistent watering, and two, high temperatures. We have been experiencing both in Zone 8A, so we've been having heavy rains and also extremely high temperatures. Both of these will increase the internal pressure within the watermelon, making it more prone to splitting. This group of watermelon has orange flesh, but you will notice the missing leaves, which is not due to lack of water. There are no signs of pests, but it might have something to do with the excessive heat we have been experiencing. Now that I have removed the shade cloth, you can clearly see the entire watermelon patch. Even though it looks really dismal right now, there is plenty of time between now and first frost for these melons to develop and reach their peak ripeness. I am looking forward to enjoying these fruits, especially the ones with the orange flesh. We love to hear your comments, so let us know below what your experience is growing watermelon this season. Are your watermelon vines missing leaves, or are your vines dying? If so, what are you doing about it? Watermelon does not get ripe after they are removed from the vine. So if this watermelon is not ready and I harvest it, it will not get any riper. So whatever state it's in right now, if I remove it from the vine, that's how it's going to be. Unlike tomatoes, where when you harvest tomatoes, you can put them on your kitchen counter and they'll get ripe. That's not the case with watermelon. There are at least 5 ways to tell if your watermelon is ready to be harvested. That depends on who you talk to, because there are different schools of thought out there. One way to tell if your watermelon is ready to be harvested is by simply flipping it over and looking for the ground spot. Oh geez, this is pretty heavy. So here, I'm gonna let you take a closer look, but the ground spot tends to be white. One school of thought is the ground spot should be like a creamy or buttery yellow. To me, this seems to be more white. So that's one way to tell if your watermelon is ready for harvesting. The ground spot should be like a creamy or a buttery yellow. So we have ground spot, flip it back over, and we have the sun spot. A second way to tell if your watermelon is ready to be harvested is by looking at what they call the tendril, which is a part of the stem that is closest to the watermelon. If it gets dry and falls off, your watermelon is ripe and ready to be harvested. A third way to tell if your watermelon is ready to be harvested is by looking at the color. Now, is the color dull? Not shiny, but really dull? And is this green stripe dark? And I would venture to say that is not shiny at all. It's more of a dull color. I am not sure about this tendril, because as you can see, the watermelon vines aren't doing really well. So we have a lot of dry leaves here. And I think that has to do with the fact that we had the shade cloth and the shade cloth wasn't elevated. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm not sure about the tendril method here. Another way to tell is by the weight. Is the weight of the watermelon heavier than it appears? If your watermelon is really heavy, that means it has a lot of juice. And so it's very difficult for me to tell, but this feels like it's at least a 30-pound watermelon. So we have the ground spot, we have the tendril, we have the color, we have the weight, and we also have a fifth method. Our fifth method is the knock-knock test. Now, if you tap your watermelon and it sounds really hollow, that means it is ready to be harvested. Not sure who came up with that one, but knock-knock. Generally, watermelons will take 120 days from seed to harvest. We started these from seed in April of 2025, and here we are, August 2nd of 2025. Normally, I would not harvest it this quickly, but because of this huge sunspot and the amount of rain that we keep getting, I think it's time for us to take a chance and harvest this watermelon, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully it is ripe and ready for us to enjoy. So let's go ahead and harvest this watermelon. We'll take it inside, we'll weigh it, and we will cut it open and see what we have. Here we have the sunspot, which is pretty large. Flip it over and we have the ground spot. As I mentioned before, once your watermelon is removed from the vine, it no longer gets ripe. So whatever state it is now is the state of being. But I went ahead and harvested because I was afraid that it may start to rot because we're going to get more rain, and I would hate for this one to burst open. Now, the watermelon that you saw over there that burst open will be on our compost pile, so to be added to our compost pile. Nothing gets wasted here, so that watermelon that burst open will end up on our compost pile where we've added other watermelons that burst open as well. Let's go ahead and take this indoors. We will weigh it and we will cut it open, and hopefully this will be a yellow, which I think it is, but we will find out together. The watermelon we harvested weighs 23 pounds and has yellow flesh. It could have stayed another 2 weeks to ripen further on the vine. Here we are cutting it into chunks to make watermelon juice. Thank you as always for watching and for supporting our channel. We have spiked as far as subscribers in the last few weeks, and I thank you so very much for your support. Now, I know we have not been very consistent, especially in the month of July. Again, that's because we've been getting a lot of rain, and if it's not raining, the heat has been really intense. And in the evenings, what do you know? We have mosquitoes. So hopefully for August, we'll be able to upload more videos for you to enjoy. We certainly have a lot going on as far as fruits and vegetables, and most definitely when it comes to ornamental, I have a lot of ornamental plants that I'd like to showcase as well. Again, thank you so very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.